Before the seatbelt sign turns off and the truth comes out at 30,000 feet, make sure you're still here. Subscribe to Emo Saga for stories where chance proximity becomes destiny, and one moment changes everything. The turbulence comes without warning. 1 second, the cabin is calm, soft lighting, the low hum of the engines, quiet conversations drifting between rows. The next, the plane drops sharply, sending a ripple of startled gasps through first class. I grab the armrest instinctively. Someone behind me yelps. The seatbelt sign flashes on. And then, another jolt. Harder this time. I'm halfway out of my seat before I understand what's happening. The woman beside me loses her balance completely, colliding into the aisle. A flight attendant stumbles. Luggage rattles overhead. And I'm airborne for half a second, before strong hands catch me. Not awkward. Not fumbling. Certain. I land solidly on someone's lap. My breath leaves me in a sharp rush. The impact knocks the wind out of my lungs, and for a split second, all I can register is warmth. Firm thighs beneath me, a steady chest at my back. One arm braced around my waist, the other gripping the seat in front to steady us both. The turbulence eases slightly, but I don't move. Neither does he. I'm so sorry, I blurt, trying to scramble upright. The arm around my waist tightens. Not trapping. Stabilizing. Stay, he says calmly. Just for a second. His voice is low, controlled, unshaken by the chaos around us. The plane shudders again, smaller this time. I freeze. The cabin feels suddenly quiet, too quiet. Passengers have gone still, eyes flicking in our direction before snapping away again. The flight attendants pause, watching with unreadable expressions. I'm acutely aware of how close we are. How close I am. My skirt has ridden up slightly. My knees are pressed against his. His hand rests at my waist, broad, warm, undeniably present. I can feel his breathing. Slow. Even. I can get up, I say quickly. Not yet, he replies. Wait until it settles. Another bump confirms his judgment. I swallow and nod, cheeks burning. Okay. The turbulence fades gradually, like the plane is remembering how to behave. The seatbelt sign remains on. I finally shift my weight, preparing to stand. His hand loosens immediately. No hesitation. No ningering. That somehow makes it worse. I straighten, smoothing my skirt, mortified. I'm really sorry, I repeat. I didn't mean to. It's fine, he says. You're not hurt. I glance at him properly for the first time. He's composed. Dark hair neatly cut. A crisp shirt beneath a tailored jacket. No visible signs of irritation. No embarrassment. Just calm. The kind of calm that doesn't come from confidence alone. Comes from authority. I'm fine, I say quickly. Thank you for catching me. He inclines his head slightly. Of course. That should be the end of it. It isn't. I return to my seat, heart still racing. But I can feel his presence now, solid, unignorable. Like gravity shifted when I landed on him. I steal a glance sideways. He's already looking at me. Not openly. Assessing. Like he's deciding something. The flight attendant approaches, voice polite but careful. Is everyone all right here? Yes, he answers before I can. She lost her balance during the drop. The attendant nods, eyes flicking to him with unmistakable respect. We'll be leveling out shortly, sir. Sir. I catch the emphasis. He doesn't respond, just gives a small nod. The attendant moves on immediately. Something in my stomach twists. I lean back in my seat, trying to calm my breathing. This was nothing. An accident. A moment that will fade as soon as we land. Except, the woman across the aisle keeps glancing at me. The man behind us hasn't moved. And the energy around our row feels altered. Like a line was crossed without my permission. Or maybe with it. You handled that well, he says quietly, not looking at me this time. By sitting on a stranger's lap? I muta. A faint smile touches his mouth. By not panicking. I paniktintanoli, I admit. That's normal, he says. You didn't externally. That's rare. I turn to look at him again. Is that a compliment? Yes. The plane levels out. The seatbelt sign remains lit. I exhale slowly, trying to reclaim my composure. I'm guessing you fly a lot. I say, attempting casual conversation. He considers me for a moment. Often enough. For work. Yes. What kind? He finally turns his head fully toward me. The look in his eyes is steady, measured. Operational, he replies. That tells me nothing. Which feels intentional. A few minutes pass in silence. I tell myself to stop thinking about how his hands felt. About how instinctive the moment was. About how the cabin seemed to recognize him before I did. You don't need to apologize anymore, he says suddenly. I blink. I wasn't. You were thinking about it. He creeps up my neck. You're very observant. I have to be, he replies. That answer lands heavier than the others. The captain's voice comes over the intercom. Apologies for the unexpected turbulence. Conditions are now stable. The seatbelt sign clicks off. A collective exhale ripples through the cabin. Movement resumes. But something stays locked between us. I'm glad you're all right, I say more sincerely this time. He nods. I am. And thank you again. You're welcome, he says. Then adds. You're not from this route. I frown slightly. How would you know that? You didn't react like the regulars, he says. Regulars? The ones who know what this corridor does to the air, he explains. I tilt my head. You sound like you planned the turbulence. He meets my gaze. I planned for it, he says. I laugh softly, assuming it's a joke. He doesn't. The silence stretches. I feel a prickle of awareness run down my spine. What do you do? I ask again. This time he doesn't dodge. I oversee flight operations, he says. For this airline. My heart stutters. You mean? Yes, he replies calmly. I stare at him. You control the flight? I ensure it runs as intended, he corrects. The words echo uncomfortably. I think back to the way the attendants deferred to him. To the stillness when I landed on his lap. To the way no one questioned his presence. Oh, I say softly. He studies my reaction. You're processing, he observes. I just sat on my boss's lap? I whisper. One corner of his mouth lifts. Not exactly. Then what? He leans slightly closer. You sat on the lap of the man responsible for everyone arriving safely tonight. My pulse races. That's worse. Is it? He asks. I don't answer. Because the truth is, I don't know. The cabin lights dim slightly as the flight continues. I can feel his attention again. Not invasive, not demanding. Waiting. I realize with a jolt that this wasn't just an accident. It was a moment. One that revealed something dangerous. Not about him. About me. Because despite everything, I don't regret landing there. And I don't yet know what that means. The realization settles slowly. Not like fear. Not like shock. Like awareness. The kind that sharpens instead of blurs. I turn back toward the window, watching clouds drift past, trying to pretend my pulse isn't still uneven. You could have told me sooner, I say quietly. I didn't want to influence your reaction, he replies. I glance at him. Influence how? How you felt about landing there, he says calmly. Whether it embarrassed you or intrigued you. My breath catches. That's calculated. Yes. And you're saying that like it's neutral. It is, he answers. What matters is what you do with it. The flight continues smoothly. Drink service resumes. Conversations pick back up. The normal world tries to reassert itself. But something has shifted. Every time the attendant passes our row, there's a subtle difference, extra attentiveness, a careful glance toward him before speaking. I notice it now. Everything makes sense in retrospect. You didn't seem upset, he says after a while. About being pulled onto my lap. He creeps up my neck again. I was more focused on not falling, I admit. And after, I hesitate. That I didn't want to move, I say softly. He doesn't react outwardly, but I see the change in his eyes. Not hunger, recognition. That honesty matters, he says. Most people revise their feelings to feel safer. And you? I ask. I prefer clarity, he replies. Even when it complicates things. I study him. You could have used that moment differently. Yes, he agrees. I chose not to. Why? Because consent matters, he says simply, even when power doesn't require it. The words settle deeper than I expect. We sit in silence again, but it's different now. Not awkward. Attuned. I become aware of small things. The way his knee is angled slightly toward mine without touching. The way he adjusts his posture when the plane makes a minor shift. Instinctively prepared. You're used to responsibility, I murmur. Yes. Does it ever get heavy? He considers. Only when people forget they still have choices. I look at him. Doi. His gaze meets mine steadily. Always, he says. The captain announces descent. The cabin shifts into landing mode. I feel a strange flicker of disappointment that the shared bubble is about to end. This is where we go back to being strangers, I say lightly. Only if you want to, he replies. That turns my stomach in a way that feels dangerously close to anticipation. As the plane taxis, he remains seated until I stand first. That too feels intentional. When we reach the aisle, he steps slightly aside, giving me space. No guiding hand. No pressure. Just presence. At the door, the flight attendant greets him quietly, respectfully. Thank you for flying with us, sir. He nods. I catch the subtle glance she gives me, curious, assessing. I step onto the jet bridge with a strange sense of unreality. Inside the terminal, the crowd thickens. Noise returns. Distance creeps back in. This is where it should end. Thank you, I say again, turning to face him. For earlier. You're welcome, he replies. Then adds, for what comes next? I blink. I didn't agree to anything. No, he says. But you didn't run. That word again. Stayed. He reaches into his jacket and produces a simple card. No logo. No title. Just a name and a number. You don't have to use this, he says. And if you do, it doesn't mean anything you don't want it to. I take it. Our fingers brush. This time, neither of us pulls away immediately. Electric. Brief. Intentional. What happens if I call? I ask. We talk, he says. In a place where turbulence isn't required to bring us closer. And if I don't? Then this remains a moment, he replies. One that ends cleanly. I nod slowly. I like clean endings. He studies me. You like chosen ones. I don't deny it. We part there. No dramatic farewell. No ninguém. Just a shared look that carries far more weight than touch ever could. Days pass. I replay the moment more than I want to admit. Not the fall. Not the lap. The restraint. The waiting. The way he never once assumed ownership of the situation or me. That's what unsettles me most. And draws me back. On the third night, I dial the number. It rings once. Then. Yes, he answers. No surprise. You knew it would be me, I say. I hoped, he replies. There's a difference. I smile to myself. We meet somewhere public. Bright. Grounded. No uniforms. No authority. Just two people sitting across from each other. Hands visible, space respected. You look different, I say. So do you, he replies. Less intimidating? Less elevated, he corrects. I tilt my head. Is that intentional? Yes, he says. Power should know when to step down. Conversation flows easily. About travel. Responsibility. The strange intimacy of shared moments that don't ask permission. You don't collect people, I say eventually. No, he agrees. I allow them to choose. And if I choose nothing? He nods. Then nothing happens. The relief I feel surprises me. Weeks later, we're on another flight. Different airline. Different seats. No turbulence. He doesn't touch me. Doesn't need to. Because this time when I lean toward him, it's my choice. Some moments change you because they strip away illusion. Others change you because they reveal what you're capable of choosing when no one is forcing your hand. That night at 30,000 feet wasn't about power. It was about balance. And the knowledge that even when you fall, who catches you matters.